Welcome to this very special presentation on Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. My name is Ken Sebahar. I'm the president of Solution Systems, a gold certified Microsoft Dynamics ERP partner located in the Chicago area. The topic of today's presentation is Business Central Cloud and Business Central On-Premise, similarities and differences. As I mentioned, my name is Ken Sebahar. I work for Solution Systems, a gold certified partner since 1999. We're also a Microsoft Cloud solution provider and data analytics partner as well. We have been a NAV user group, Business Central user group sponsor and member since 2014. We're very active in the Microsoft community, and we love Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. We host a podcast as well on a monthly basis. Please subscribe. You can use this as a basis for information, news, updates, releases, and other fun topics that we discuss, all related to Business Central. The purpose or objectives of this session is to confirm what product offerings are available from Microsoft for Business Central, or BC. Understand the differences between the cloud version of Business Central and the on-premise version of Business Central. Also to understand the availability and capability of migrating between Business Central Cloud and Business Central On-Premise. And this presentation has been updated to include all content effective the Wave 2 2019 release, or version 15 updates that came out in October 2019. During this presentation, we will first take a look at the history of Business Central and current product offerings to make sure that we're all starting on the same page. We'll then compare and contrast the cloud option versus the on-premise. Specifically, we're going to break this down into multiple segments, covering licensing, deployment, software updates, development, integrations, user interface, and capabilities and features. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the migration paths available. So what is in a name? So Microsoft for many years has been supporting a product known as Microsoft Dynamics NAV. And there are various logos that you can see here associated with that product. That product is now what is called Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. So the product has been renamed, rebranded to fit into the Microsoft Dynamics 365 family of products. It is, however, underneath the hood, the next version or the next release of Dynamics NAV. So there are actually two products. So there's Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. And when you hear this, generally people are referring to the solution that is hosted by Microsoft on Microsoft's Azure cloud. It's a true software as a service product where you have a subscription and it's running on Microsoft's cloud. You don't have to worry about any infrastructure, right? And that is, again, Dynamics 365 Business Central. For this presentation, we've color-coded all the slides, and this product will be referred to in blue, or cloud, like the sky. Separately, there is a related product called Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central On-Premise. This solution, the same software, but hosted by the client at any location. Could be physically on-premise, could be hosted on a private cloud environment. And for this presentation, when we refer to on-premise, though that will be in red throughout this presentation. Okay, so if we go back a few releases, just to kind of go through this history and how we transition from NAV to Business Central, in October or fall of 2014, Microsoft released Dynamics NAV 2015. The next year they released 2016, then the next year 2017, and 2018. When we got to October 2018, however, Microsoft, that's when they rebranded this product to Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. And this, of course, is the on-premise version. Right? We're talking about the on-premise version here. The product was rebranded. Now, at this point, so if you look at the bottom of the screen here, you'll see this is where you see NAV 2018 and NAV 2018 R2, and then it becomes Dynamics 365 Business Central on-premise. However, there's also a cloud version available of the same product. This started off back in 2018 or earlier as Dynamics 365 for Finance and Operations Business Edition. This was a more basic version of Dynamics NAV hosted on Microsoft's cloud by Microsoft. And then what they did was when they got to Business Central, they said, we're going to take the full product, the full Dynamics NAV on-premise solution, and we are going to make this available as our cloud option. And that is what's called Dynamics 365 Business Central. And that's on the cloud. So these are the two versions currently available. So what are the differences and similarities between these products? First, let's talk about licensing options. If you're running the cloud version, this is on a subscription basis. It's based on named users, with each user license, a full user, running either $70 or $100 per user per month. The $70 is the Essentials product. The $100 is if you need access to manufacturing or service management. A team user is $8 per month. This is effectively a read-only user access with very light data editing capabilities included. On-premise, subscription pricing is also available, also named user for the same user pricing. However, for on-premise, you can also use what's called perpetual pricing, which is purchasing the software upfront. This is again based on named users. However, a full user, again, depending on if you're the Essentials or you need the Advanced, is $2,000 per user. This is a one-time fee. You purchase the software up front, and then you have a team user for $400 as well that could be purchased. Once you've purchased the software once, you then pay an annual fee of 16% per year for what's called the Microsoft Annual Enhancement Plan. And it's the enhancement plan that gives you access to new versions of the software as it's released. So down on the bottom here, we'll summarize. Cloud is subscription only in terms of licensing. And with on-premise, you can purchase the software upfront or use subscription pricing. Let's talk deployment. How and where is the solution deployed? For the cloud, this solution is hosted by Microsoft on the Microsoft Azure cloud. There's no options. This is how the solution is deployed. This is a multi-tenant environment, which means Microsoft's hosting multiple organizations within this Business Central cloud environment. It's running SaaS or software as a service. With the on-premise solution, this is hosted by the client. This can be done on a physical or virtual server that's located physically on-premise, or it could be hosted on a private virtual server located in the cloud, where the client controls that cloud environment. This could be on Microsoft Azure or other hosting provider. So to summarize, for deployment, under the cloud, the hosting fee is included within the monthly user subscription fee. For on-premise, the hosting fee is paid by the client in addition to user licenses. Next, let's talk about how software updates get applied. On the cloud, software updates are applied automatically by Microsoft. There are 2 major releases per year, or waves they call these, one in the spring and one in the fall. And then there are monthly or periodic updates that are also deployed throughout the year to address issues. Notifications can be set up to alert you of when these updates are scheduled and when they have occurred. In the on-premise version, all updates are applied by the client in coordination with their Microsoft partner. Again, 2 major releases per year are available, as well as monthly or quarterly cumulative updates that can be applied for each release. Even in an on-premise environment, with the new modern development environment that's used within Business Central, upgrades once you get to Business Central, upgrades are significantly easier and faster with all extensions used instead of objects. So there is effort involved with applying updates in on-premise. However, it is not nearly as significant as with previous versions of Microsoft Dynamics. To upgrade or take updates on-premise, partner services will be required. You will have to coordinate with your partner. On the cloud, although typically most updates are applied automatically and successfully deployed, it may be possible that partner services might be required to assist if you're using apps on AppSource. You may need to deploy new versions of those apps, or there may be issues with some of the custom extensions that have built where updates are required within those extensions in order to successfully take those updates. Development. On the cloud, you must use what's called the modern development environment. This is using Visual Studio Code with an AL language pack. This structure creates what are called extensions. Extensions are added on to the Business Central environment to provide additional functionality. There are no changes allowed to the standard Microsoft code base with extensions. This is what preserves the ability for Microsoft to automatically and regularly update these environments. With the new modern development environment, the client has the same development capabilities as partners. Of course, they need to attend some training and some learning in order to create those extensions, but from a licensing perspective or tool set perspective, clients have the same functions and tools available as partners to develop those extensions. For the on-premise version, there is a modern development environment that may be used, the same modern development environment that's used on the cloud, or the traditional Dynamics NAV Seaside development environment can also be used for modifying objects. However, that Seaside development environment, the last version that is available is version 14. Once you get to version 15, there are no objects, and all customizations or add-ons must exist as extensions. So again, on the cloud with the modern development environment, no development license is required in order to develop extensions. And on the on-premise side, if you are on version 14 and you're still doing objects, you still need the development license required for many of the Seaside code changes. Integration capabilities. So how do we integrate Business Central with some other third-party systems? In the cloud, it requires the use of web services or OData in order to read and write information between Business Central and another application. There's also no direct access to the SQL Server database. And performance may be an issue depending on the volume of data that you have in the database and how you're pulling data through web services. So be sure to verify the performance of that integration in a full load environment in order to ensure that the integration has been developed properly and that the performance is suitable. In the on-premise world, because the client has full control of the entire environment, web services and OData can be used. However, you can also utilize other tools such as ODBC SQL queries, SQL views, or SQL linked tables. These are some of the things that traditionally have been used when developing data warehouses or other integrations with other systems such as warehouse management tools, e-commerce solutions, or other. And you also, of course, have direct access to the SQL Server database. An example of this is if you may use UPS WorldShip or FedEx Shipping Manager, you may have created direct SQL views or triggers directly to integrate and pass data from UPS or FedEx into Business Central. So on the cloud, there are fewer options due to the multi-tenant environment that you're operating within. And on the on-premise side, the private tenant provides more options for you for determining how you would like to integrate those solutions. User interface. On the cloud, we utilize the web client or the app client, and that looks like this, the new modern user interface. In the on-premise world, there's the web client and the app client. In addition, up and through version 14, the Windows client is also available. In version 15, the latest release, the Windows client is no longer available. So if you're migrating to version 14, you can still continue to use the traditional Windows client with the role centers. However, once you get to version 15, it's the modern client, the views that you see on the left. So on the right is the Windows client, again, no longer available. Capabilities and features. So in general, whether you're talking about Business Central Cloud or Business Central on-premise, it is a shared source code base. The same features and the same functionality is available in both solutions, except there are two types of limitations I'd like to talk about next. The first are specific features that require specific circumstances in order to use those features. And then there are features that are not intended for use with the on-premise deployments. We're going to go through all of these features. There's also a link available on Microsoft where you can also see the same list. So first, let's go through features that require specific circumstances in order to use them. So there is a tool that allows you to read and write data with using an Excel add-in. This Excel add-in requires the use of Azure Active Directory as the authentication mechanism. So if you need to authenticate through AAD or Azure Active Directory in order to be able to read and write data using the Excel add-in. There are also Excel financial reports available in Business Central. Same thing, in order to use these, you must be using Azure Active Directory as your authentication mechanism. Cover sheets for contact management also requires Azure Active Directory as your authentication mechanism. Built-in Power BI reports and charts. These are Power BI reports and charts developed into the Business Central role centers and other pages. This integration requires Azure Active Directory as your authentication method. Built-in Microsoft Flow management. These can be, you can use the built-in workflows in an on-premise deployment of Business Central, provided that you connect to Microsoft Flow using Azure Active Directory as your authentication mechanism. So same thing. So all of these tools that we've covered so far require the use of Azure Active Directory as your authentication mechanism. Also, there's built-in web services. A number of pages and queries inside of Business Central are exposed as web services. However, the default endpoint must be manually updated before the web services can be consumed. What this means is that your administrator must go in and modify some configuration and settings within these web services in order to ensure that users can access those in an on-premise environment. The Outlook add-in for Business Central. The Outlook add-in requires Dynamics NAV user password or Azure Active Directory as your authentication mechanism. Standard REST APIs. So these are integration tools that can be used. And there are some special circumstances here. There's a link included, and you must connect directly to the on-premise deployment, just as when you connect to web services. So just some things to be aware of here via this link if you're using REST APIs. The sales and inventory forecasting tool within Business Central. If this is machine learning, and so because if you're running in an on-premise environment, you will not have inherently built-in access to that artificial intelligence or machine learning. So you will require your own Azure machine learning subscription to be set up in order to use that functionality. Okay. And some more information about machine learning. Cortana Intelligence in cash flow forecast. So the cash flow forecast utility is available in the on-premise version. However, if you want to incorporate again that artificial intelligence, then again you must set up and manage your own Azure machine learning subscription. There's a feature called an image analyzer that will look at an image and attempt to decipher what it is. That will require a computer vision service. That is not included in the on-premise. So that's a separate step involved there. And this explains what exactly that is. Then there are features that are not intended for use with the on-premise deployments. Let's go through those next. Default Power BI reports. So there are several default Power BI reports built for Business Central. Those are designed strictly to be used with the cloud version of Business Central. The automatic deployment and configuration of these is not supported. These can be manually set up and managed, however, that most likely will require assistance from your partner. Late payment prediction. The late payment prediction functionality is not supported for on-premise. Again, this is machine learning logic that gets applied, looks at your data and predicts in advance which invoices are likely to be paid late by your customers. In-product search. So in online deployments of Business Central, there's a feature called Tell Me. And this feature will also look at all online content on docs.microsoft.com. For the on-premise version, it will not also search docs.microsoft.com. You can separately go to that site and do your own searches. However, it will not be launched from the help within Business Central on-premise. Creating workflows using the Microsoft Flow technology. So the Microsoft Flow functionality is designed to integrate with Business Central Cloud. So you cannot create new workflows based on existing Flow templates in an on-premise deployment of Business Central. Sandbox environments. So a sandbox environment is a testing environment that can be set up in Business Central Cloud, where you can replicate or copy your existing production environment to do testing or training in an kind of offline outside of your live production environment. You can also do development in there as well. In an on-premise environment, the customer, client, or your partner must be required to create copies or development or sandbox environments, not automated through the product. Inviting an external accountant. With the cloud version of Business Central, there are licenses available for external accountants, and you can invite your external accountant to join your Business Central Cloud environment. This is not supported with the on-premise version of Business Central. Bulk invoicing from Microsoft Bookings. So there is a feature with Microsoft Business Central Cloud that integrates with Microsoft Bookings, and this is not supported in on-premise. Let's finish up this presentation by looking at the migration paths. So migrating from the Business Central Cloud environment to a Business Central on-premise. There is no defined migration path available to move your current moving environment from the cloud to on-premise. A custom plan may need to be developed to migrate existing extensions or apps or data from cloud to the on-premise. So this is something that if it has to be done for some reason, where you need to move to an on-premise environment from the cloud, that's something that's going to require special consideration. You can request a copy of the SQL database from Microsoft so that it can be restored in an on-premise environment. So that is a feature that's available. You also can utilize a tool inside of Business Central Cloud where you can create copies of your Business Central database in an Azure SQL environment. So there are some options and tools available for getting backup copies of that database. Now, most clients are going to move from Business Central on-premise to the Business Central Cloud product. This is more and more we're seeing customers move in this direction. And for this, there is a migration path available. Within Business Central, there's assisted setup tools that allow you to establish a cloud-ready environment in a Business Central on-premise environment. What this checks is to make sure that you have no modified objects in the database. All extensions are used for add-ons and customizations. You then run a setup cloud migration process to sync your on-premise data to the Business Central Cloud replicated database. From that point, your on-premise environment will then be in sync with the cloud environment. And at a certain point, you can simply stop utilizing your on-premise environment and migrate all your data, all your users into the cloud environment. Of course, if you're moving from an on-premise environment and you're moving to the cloud, you will need to add subscription licenses for all of your users if you previously had purchased your on-premise software. Thank you for attending. I hope that helped clarify the differences between Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central Cloud and Business Central on-premise. Please feel to reach out to me if you have any questions at ken@solsyst.com. Thank you very much.